All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I am joined with Clint Arthur, who's going to give us 5 mathematical facts that the government hates us, right?
100%.
Undeniable proofs. First of all, Clint, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's a pleasure. It's been a while since the last one.
Honored to be with you, sir. You are a great patriot, and I appreciate all of your service in the truth movement.
I'm just trying to stay alive, dude. It's going to get heavy now. It's going to get real crazy.
Surviving is winning in this game right now.
Yeah, exactly. Surviving is winning. That's the absolute truth. First, folks, get your noble gold. Get your noble gold. Gold just hit another record, but here's what's really interesting. It's been doing that a lot lately. It's up 33.26% year to date. While election drama has everyone else nervous, gold investors are sleeping pretty well at night. It makes sense. For thousands of years, gold's been the grown up in the room during uncertain times. That's why investors are moving to noble gold investments now. Not tomorrow, not next month, right now. Don't miss out. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com today and bag up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with a qualified account. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Noblegoldinvestments.com now. Get there now and get started bagging some silver and gold. Clint, what's going on, man? I know we've been trying to knock this out for the last, month? And I feel so bad, dude. I've had to reschedule a bunch of times.
Not
My
a
fault.
problem. Not a problem. Gold is how I got into all of this analysis of why the government hates us, is lying to us, and all of that. I remember when the chair of the Federal Reserve and Janet Yellen were saying that with prices going up, was transitory. As soon as they said that I was transitory, that's when I knew they were lying, and that's when I started buying G that you were talking about just there. And the first, like I'm known for over delivering. We're going to talk about 5 mathematical proofs that the government hates US citizens. And we're going to start off with a bonus. And that is, I'm not going to say anything in this video. I'm only going to speak in code. And the reason I'm going to speak in code is because we can't speak freely. We no longer have true use of the First Amendment of the Constitution, which guarantees us the freedom of speech. That doesn't exist anymore. Remember 4 years ago when Mr. T was still the P of the USA? We could say
Yeah,
whatever we want and there was no problem. But now we can't say anything. And I'm
right.
not going to say anything, but everyone's going to know exactly what I'm going to talk about because it's all going to be in code that you understand. Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
cool. So
Especially
we're going
my
to
audience, they'll understand this.
everybody's going to know exactly what I'm talking about. So we're going to go in reverse order. These are the top 5 ways that that the U.S. government hates U.S. citizens. The first one is the American dream. Okay. And if you would let me share my screen, I'm going to show that. Boom. The American dream is no longer in reach of the average American citizen, okay? To own a car from the age of 29 to 74 costs you $811,000. The overall cost of the American dream, once you factor in buying a home, getting married, raising two kids costs you $832,000, okay? To retire with $1,500,000 in the
And
bank.
how long of a span does it cost $832,000?
Raising two kids to age 18 plus 4 years of public college is 832,000 measured in today's dollars. That's today's dollars. Now,
Wow.
let's not even think about what it's going to be in in the future with dollars, okay? And even the cost of dying costs $8,400. So the total
For
cost of
like for like the burial and the casket, the whole thing.
funeral, viewing, and burial, yes,
Jeez, man. This is
$8,453.
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And I really appreciate my father who requested to be cremated. And then we spread his ashes in the Pacific Ocean. This was a long time ago. The cremation was like $850. And that was it. So
A
thank you.
lot of people are going that route now.
Hey, man, it makes a lot of sense. Why bury the money? Why not
Right.
just, why not just,
It makes sense. It does. But a
economical
lot of
about
people want a tombstone or a site to go to. And I don't know. I don't understand it. But yeah,
I don't understand it either. If you want to make your mark in the memories of the people you care about. That's what I think.
I agree. I totally
Okay,
agree,
so
brother.
the total American dream costs over $4,400,000 today in these inflated dollars. So that's really beyond
No,
the
no. When you say 4,440,000, that's 445.
42,050 dollars.
Okay. How long? How long of a period are we looking at here? Like for
Well,
4 million, is that a year for the American dream? Over 10 years or how long?
that's over a lifetime to achieve the
Wow.
American
Okay.
dream.
Jeez.
Okay. And most people, when you think about how most people make, say, $50,000 a year,
Yeah.
multiply that times a working life of 40 years, that only totals up to $2 million, Nino. So,
And don't forget your taxes. Don't forget your taxes and expenses. And I mean, this, man, just forget it.
yeah, T
Yeah.
and E, man, T and
Yeah.
E. There's some dangerous things. Okay, I'm going to stop this share, and we'll go on to the number 4 way. The fourth way that that the U.S. government hates U.S. citizens is the real rate of I calculated using 1980 consumer price inflation formula. Okay, so the formula that they use to calculate I, which is prices going up, is a formula from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay. And they have been changing this formula over the years. There's a website called Shadow Stats.
Okay.
And according to Shadow Stats, the price from 1980 gives us a rate of I, which is over 10% compared to what they want you to believe the rate of I is today, which is under 3%. And how do they do that? How do they cheat you like this? How do they lie to you like this? Well, number one, they substitute things, and this is the most devious thing of all. Instead of having steak in the CPI, they have hamburger. So we're comparing apples to oranges and hamburger to steak. And as you are probably well aware, steak and hamburger are not the same thing.
Uh,
So
I love a good cheeseburger, man. I don't
I love
know.
I love hamburgers too, but there's a difference
Yeah,
between
no, yeah.
ribeye and a hamburger. So then they
I
also
love
have
a good ribeye.
yeah, exactly. Then they have different ways of doing it, quality adjustments. Like they say, if the computer is faster, then they're not gonna, that's just a price hike and they don't give you quality or out-of-pocket expenses, like they don't include mandatory expenses for government regulations. And if they put a new government regulation on you that you have to pay, for example, care, if you have to pay care penalty, that doesn't count in inflation.
Jeez.
There's all kinds of ways that they are comparing steak to hamburger or apples to oranges. If we were in 1980 calculating the CPI, the cost of inflation, it would be over 10% compared to under 3% today. That's because they're lying to you and they don't want you to know the truth. And that's why it's an example of how they hate you, and you should not believe anything they say. The third thing that is an example of mathematical proof that the government of the US hates you is the unemployment rate. If you were to calculate the unemployment rate today and remove all the government workers, it would be vastly different than the official unemployment rate. Now, I asked ChatGPT to calculate this for me. It took many different requests because ChatGPT doesn't want to say the
Right.
truth. It wants to say its version of the truth, which is influenced by people that hate us,
That
globalists.
control the chat GPT.
Yeah, the powers that be. So there are 23.7 million people in federal, state, and local government jobs. The current unemployment rate is around 3.8%, which represents 6.4 million unemployed people out of a labor force of 168 million. If you add the 23.7 million government employees, that would give you 30 million unemployed people. And a lot of these government jobs are just
So
make
how many
work.
government employees are there?
There are 23.7 million.
How many people are locked up in prison systems? That's something you should have done.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
Because
thing.
I bet that dwarfs that number.
Yeah, well, we could find that out.
Because if
But
you
if
think that's really where they make their money, dude.
yeah,
Think about
especially
that.
private prisons.
Yeah, that you should have factored that into because they make more money on someone going to jail than someone working.
Yeah, well, even with just removing the government employees from the unemployment statistic. If after Elon goes through and eliminates waste in the government, then, and that's going to mean losing a lot of jobs. Then if we take all those people and add them into the unemployed, we'd have an unemployment rate of 17.9%.
Wow.
Think about that. That
Yeah.
is huge. That's like almost 1 in 5 people will be out of work. That's great D. You know, when you think about the years 1929 to 1939, that's the D, the great D. That's almost the kind of unemployment we had there. There are 1.9 million people in correctional facilities in the USA, including state prisons, federal prisons, and local jails, just for your information.
How much?
1.9 million people.
That's it?
That's all. That's according to the G, you know. I'm not,
I
again, I'm not
don't know about
anything.
that. Yeah, I thought it would be. I would have imagined it was way more than that.
That's what G says. So I
Okay,
don't know.
I will go
Okay.
with it.
We'll go to number 2, the second statistic that it proves the US government hates you and only is trying to lie to you is my favorite one, which is the government aid to the country called you versus the government aid.
Eastern Europe.
Yeah, in Eastern Europe. Yeah, there's a war going on over there or some kind of military action. And we have been financing that to the total, to the tune of $175 billion.
Jeez, man.
Okay.
Not to mention what we've given Iran, Israel. Israel's on the payroll too.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But if we just talk about the land of you and we divide the 175 billones dólares that we have given them by the 38 million residents of the land of you, it comes out to $4,605.26 per person that we have given to the citizens in the land of you. Now, how much did we give to the victims of the fires in that little island in the Pacific? How much did they get? They got $400. And how much are we giving to the people? That little island in the Pacific Ocean that had fires. Yeah, that just came out of the sky. They got $400 each. What can you do with $400 on an island?
Or Helene, $700 each.
$700 to the people who live in the state of NC. Okay, what are they going to do? And then think about the difference in what it costs to live in the land of you versus in the state of NC or the state of H, which is in the Pacific Ocean. The costs are so much more expensive here in the USA than it is in the land of you. And yet the people in the land of you, allegedly, because, you know, we know that they're not actually getting all that money. A lot of it is coming back into the pockets of certain D people in power. But nominally, they're getting $4,600 per person, and they live so much cheaper than we live here. And yet American citizens get peanuts, bupkis, compared to what they get. And then the fifth mathematical proof that the US government hates American citizens, and this is the worst one of all, is Social Security benefits versus benefits. Okay, people who have come here and they don't have permission to be here, they just walked across the border. The average Social Security benefit for a retired worker in the USA in 2024 is approximately $1,907 per month. $1,907. And that's after the most recent cost of living adjustment, which was 3.2% increase, which they got to help them out. My poor mom, she's turning 90 years old. She's living on that.
Jeez.
And there was a recent receipt that a person from the land of V, okay, this is a
Venezuela,
country in South America, and they left their receipt. Let me share this.
I saw this.
Yep, they left their receipt in the supermarket, and there's the photo of it. They got food stamps remaining after they spent money in the supermarket of $13,400. They had a cash balance of $4,498. That totals up to almost $19,000. When is the government giving you?
People should be irate about this.
All the money. Like, what is going on right now is a transfer of wealth. I'm a graduate of the Wharton Business School. I love economics. They're transferring wealth. They're plundering our treasures. They're stealing our wealth, and they're transferring it out of the American people's bank accounts and pockets and giving it away to others to transform us into a third world country. And that's
Correct.
what's going on. And these are the top 5 ways, plus the bonus that you know that the US government is not your friend.
God.
And I believe, honestly, I believe the opposite of everything they say. Once I started hearing about I being transitory, I said, nope, I don't believe that. When they said all Americans should return to the USA to shelter in place during the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, that's when I stayed out of the country.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're out of the country, correct? You're not going to say where you're at, but you're out of here.
yep, I'm outright. I've been out for 4 years, and
Do you expect to stay out longer? Are you going to stay away permanently? Are you going to come back or
well, Mr. T says that this is going to be the golden age, and
yeah,
that's because of
I agree with that.
hopefully people are going to be getting their noble gold. I hope, but uh, but if it does become the golden age, then things are booming. You got to make hay while the sun shines.
I
You
think
got
the
to
next 3 to 6 months are going to be very, very, very turbulent, in my opinion. Like, just people are not going to know what's happening. But then after that, I think it turns around. That's my
I
opinion.
do hope and pray every day for the safety and the success of Mr. T and his dream team.
Right.
And it
I agree.
really is an unbelievable team that he's put together. And I hope and pray every day that finally we're going to see the end of this nightmare and that we will escape from the
Get
clutches.
back to the American dream.
Yeah, get back to the American dream and making it affordable and having prosperity and having a government that we can believe in once again.
Got to clean out the swamp rats first. I mean, that's what we have to do. And I think that's going to be the process here coming up. That's going to be a big task, but I believe it's going to happen.
I'm looking,
Otherwise, I'm going to go down south to where you are and
I
just go
am look,
surfing and fishing for the rest of my life and just say, fuck it.
well, it's very difficult to make money when you have a rate of unemployment that's actually almost 20%. It's very difficult to make money when when everything is going up, when all the
Yeah.
costs are going up and everybody's worried about making ends meet and they don't want to spend, and it's like it's hard. One of my mentors said, "Hey, you're going to get less results for working harder these days, so you may not want to even work." And I think there's a lot of people who are doing that. So
Yeah, I know businesses that are shutting down because nobody wants to work. Like seriously, that's the big complaint is they can't even hire this Generation Z because they don't want to work.
no, why should they? It's you
Yeah.
can't get ahead. So if you
Yeah,
can't
and you're
get
just
ahead,
wasting your time and hours just not getting ahead. And who wants to do that, right? The system's completely broken.
it's sad, but it's been getting worse and worse and worse. When I graduated from college, we had the Gulf War, we had the crash of 1987. It was a difficult time, but it's nothing compared to what we have right now. And I used to surf a lot, and I used to have a saying, you can't surf if there's no waves. You can sit there on your board waiting and waiting and waiting, but if there's no waves, you can't surf. So that's why a lot of people are choosing not to try to make money right now because it's just
What's the
really
point?
hard.
Why even
Yeah,
go out there and surf is what you're saying. There's no waves to catch.
that's right. And
Okay. There it
and
is.
it's sad, but that may be the truth. So there you
Damn.
go.
Clint, thanks for joining me, man. Where do people find you?
Go to clint.com with 3 T's, clint with 3 T's.com.
With 3T's, folks.com. All right, Clint, I appreciate you coming on. Let's do this again soon.
Great to see you, Nino.
All right, late.